Time now for Trivia Tracks with yours truly, Pryce Robertson. Sponsored by Ouachita Valley Respiratory Care and Beth Smith at Edward Jones. Their unique musical style presaged R&B, rock and roll, and doo-wop. Their timeless recordings remain perpetual favorites. For a generation largely pre-World War II, the Ink Spots were widely accepted in both the white and black communities, largely due to the ballad style introduced to the group by longtime lead singer Bill Kenny. The group's genesis came in 1931 when Jerry Daniels and Charlie Fuqua formed a vocal duo in the Indianapolis area. About the same time, Hoppy Jones and Deke Watson were part of a quartet, the Four Riff Brothers, who showed up regularly on radio station WLW in Cincinnati. In 1933, that group disbanded, and Watson, Daniels, and Fuqua got together to form a new vocal, instrumental, and comedy group, which was initially called King, Jack, and Jester. They continued to be heard regularly on radio in Ohio, and became a foursome when Jones was added to the group the following year. In July 1934, they accepted a booking at New York's Apollo Theater, supporting Tiny Bradshaw. At this point, they had changed their name to the Four Ink Spots, which became the Ink Spots over time. They first recorded for Victor Records in 1935, but their early record releases were not commercially successful. A year later, Daniels was replaced by Bill Kenny, who signed on with the Ink Spots after winning first place in an amateur contest at Harlem Savoy Ballroom. In 1938, Kenny introduced a new format he called Top and Bottom, which was used primarily for ballads rather than the up-tempo jive songs the group was used to performing. This format called for Kenny or Watson, who sang tenor, to sing the lead for one chorus, followed by a chorus performed by bass singer Jones, reciting the lyrics rather than singing them. After a chorus of the talking bass, the lead tenor sang the rest of the song until the end. The earliest example of their top and bottom format is from a radio broadcast in 1938. The song, titled Tune In on My Heart, features Kenny taking the lead and Jones performing the talking bass. In 1939, the group reached its peak with one of their biggest hits, If I Didn't Care, the favorite song of Red Fox's Fred G. Sanford. It sold over 19 million copies and was the first recording by a group to reach the pop charts, though it never hit number one. More hits would follow, including I Don't Want to Set the World on Fire, It's All Over But the Crying, and To Each His Own. Their film appearances include 1941's The Great American Broadcast, starring John Payne and Alice Faye, and the 1942 release Pardon My Sarong with Abbott and Costello. At the height of World War II, baritone and guitarist Charlie Fuqua received his draft notice, with Bertie Mackey and subsequently Huey Long, not that Huey Long, filling in until Fuqua's return home in 1945, and between tragedy struck in 1944 when Hoppy Jones died after collapsing on stage, the victim of a cerebral hemorrhage. Due to clashes between Bill Kenny and Deke Watson after Jones' death, Kenny decided he would rather carry on as leader of the group and bought Watson's share of the group for $10,000, which in turn gave Kenny the power to kick Watson out of the group. Watson, who went on to form a group similar in style to the Ink Spots called the Brown Dots, was replaced by Billy Butterball Bowen, who left in 1952, as did Charlie Fuqua, who formed another group called the Ink Spots, but was forced to add his name following a court ruling. Other members came and went during this period, including Fuqua's replacement Everett Barksdale. By the mid-50s, the Ink Spots chart success had already waned, and Bill Kenny officially disbanded the group in 1954. At that same time, groups calling themselves the Ink Spots sprang up all around the United States. Some groups contained members of the original group, but most had no ties to them whatsoever. Many groups claimed to have the right to the name, but no one did. Still, lawsuits were filed between various groups, some of whom avoided lawsuits by naming themselves the Fabulous Ink Spots, the Famous Ink Spots, and the Amazing Ink Spots, among other names. Deke Watson died in 1969, followed by Charlie Fuqua in 1971, Bill Kenny in 1978, and Kenny's predecessor Jerry Daniels in 1995. The Ink Spots were posthumously inducted into the Vocal Group Hall of Fame in 1999. Till next time, I'm Pryce Robertson. Amazed by today's trivia? Then join me every Monday through Friday morning for Trivia Tracks on Fox Sports Camden 97.1.